try it again. Well, Foss, early race lead down at the corner. We're going to be 3 wide before it's all said and done. Coming on the back chute, maybe not. Can't quite get there in time. Down on the inside. Foss powers out on the 111 sled. 50 sled into the number 2 spot, it looks like, for Marcus Catlin.
Catlin going to fight that low line. And someone washing up the hill there. Your leader, Foss, going to bring that gaggle off at turn 4 back to the stripe. 4 to go that time by.
Right there's a demonstration for you. Watch that 33T. Tyler Foster got shoved way high as we got one stop down the inside of the racetrack. That's the 02X sled. Got shoved way high that last time at turn number 3 and 4. He had all that banking to work with, and he brought some serious speed down the front chute. Not going to try it again, though, as he'll try to stick with the whip down on the inside.
Foss, Foster, Catlin, 1, 2, 3 to go that time by. Foss kind of picking up where he left off yesterday in that 111. Slideways off of turn 2 into the backstretch.
Heads down the back straightaway. He's got about a 4 or 5 sled length advantage over the 33T of Tyler Foster. Catlin running in that P3 spot, not hanging with the top 2, and there's a little closing action down into 3. Able to run her a tick deeper in the corner for Foster, but Foster not quick getting out.
Foster with some really good entry speed, but then you got to roll that thing down. Foss going to slide off into the backstretch. Turn 2, he'll roll down. So Foss and then Foster. Catlin still riding 3rd. Your leaders in 3 getting challenged.
There we go. To the outside. Try to work that high line and onto the front straightaway, and unfortunately had to scrub too much speed as he'll bring it across. White flag comes out for Tanner Foss up front on the 111 sled. Catlin not able to run him down. He's got the P3 spot. Dylan Herman running 4th on the field. Maybe a challenge for your race lead.
And it is down the backstretch. Foss going to set up. Foster's setting up to the bottom side of Foss. They'll roll in 3 side by side. Get into the cones, but not each other. Cones all over the track, and Foss going to pick up the win, followed by Foster, then Catlin, and then the 77. That's going to be Herman, your top 4.
There you go. Only 3 go. Or I'm sorry, no, we take the top 5. My apologies. Your 5th and final is going to be Cameron Spencer. So Spencer on the 0-2 will advance. Bauman and Favorite will not. That's heat race 1, number 1 of 3. And the F500 bring out heat race number 2. Reed Klinger out of Athens, Wisconsin. The 221 sled should be joining us, along with the 965 sled out of Clear Lake, Minnesota. That's Austin Graber.
Zach Onsen from Weston, Wisconsin on the 51, and Jonas Gust from Strathcona, Minnesota.
Brainerd, Minnesota racer Jason Smoot on the 6 sled. The 92 sled from Bad Axe, Michigan. That's Haven Bouveret.
Chad Bastal from Cedar, Minnesota on the 55. Danik Lambert from Sorrel Tracy, Quebec, Canada on the 3, and
the 48 Wade Warner out of Gettsville, Michigan rounds out heat race number 2, race number 3 of 40 on the day here on this second day of the 60th running of the World Championship Snowmobile Derby presented by Pitlick and Wick. We have a scratch. Who do we scratch? So Chad Bastool out of Cedar, Minnesota, a scratch on this one. So 55 sled will not present here in this second of 3 heat races for the F500s. So Rico going to calm down. We get ready to cut him loose. 5 laps. Look out, the official's still out on the racetrack.
I know they're hard to see with that bright yellow, but
he was high stepping there around Bouveret. Haven joining us out here, was here with us on the Vintage Weekend. Many of these racers were with us on the Vintage Weekend. That was good times we had last weekend. So we had the 22nd running of the Vintage World Championship Snowmobile races, which means it started in 2000. Sleds are all, I think, 95 and older for the Vintage Weekend, but it's a good time. If you want to come up here, we had 756 entries last weekend.
Well, I heard a rumor that in 4 years, the old Champ sleds will technically be vintage sleds.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that a twist?
That is a twist.
Can I have a diabolical laugh?
So set to go. See how this plays out. Bouveret down on the inside. Preferred line getting into the corner. Not the preferred line coming out of the corner, though. He's got a good hole shot there for the 92 sled. Leaps out ahead of the number 71, I believe it was. Jonas Gust working wide. 4 wide back in the field. Contact. Everybody stays on.
Bouveret going to bring the field down inside turn 3. Gus gathers it back up into the 2nd position, getting challenged on the way in. Can't tell who that is. Bouveret getting high, wide, and handsome, giving up track. real estate. That 965 going to take the lead down to 1.
Yeah, Graber got her picked off down into the corner. Haven's going to work the high side, though, for the 92 sled and look for speed. He's back behind P3 right now. Jonas Gus. Danny Lambert shuffled out on the number 3. Pursues down the back chute. He's running 4th. And again, only 5 will move on. Wade Warner had it the last time through, so he got a rider off. Red flag come out, and that is Wade Warner. Already has his hands up in the air, and that indicates that he is okay. So that's one of the things that happen if you're watching for the first time and not familiar with this. If the rider comes off, if they're okay, they put their hands up so the safety crew knows that the rider's okay. The sled, we'll find out, kind of punched into the bales, high side of the racetrack. So Warner had the final transfer spot. That's not going to be the case when we refire. It should be Jason Smood on the number 6 sled now running P5. So we have to fix the bales on the high side of the racetrack. Also, if you're joining us for the first day or watching on FloRacing, I know we're live on Facebook right now, but the bales on the high side, there's actually a double row of bales in the impact area, and then there's airbags located behind that. There's also a gap to absorb some energy, as well as the netting around there that ties all the bales together. That also a little bit of retainer. So there's a lot of safety in place in the corners and on the straightaways.
You know, and that netting is meant to kind of encapsulate you as you go through, and then the bales slow everything down. And combined with the air gap, it's a pretty good system. As long as it does, like when you want those bales to move, you want that energy to dissipate, and pretty slick setup.
Is indeed been in use for many years, a proven setup. You'll see it at most ice ovals. So bale repair taking place. He's back on the sled. 48 should be able to continue on. He'll just need to pick up a couple positions if he wants to get back into a transfer spot. So we'll send him back around to the Woody's traction control paddock area. He reports back there for a safety check. They will take a look at the sled. Key thing that we talked about last night a little bit was the ski hoops on the front. You must have an intact ski hoop. If you bust the ski hoop or ski loop, whatever you want to call it, you're not allowed to continue on, as that is a safety measure. That is to keep from spearing someone else should the contact be made. Bale repair complete. We'll send the side-by-sides back into the infield or the Woody's paddock. Get things cleared off, get ready to get back to it again. Looks like we have scored 1 into the books. 4 laps remain, 5 laps the total distance on this second of 3 heat races for the F500. Shout out to Joe Grabanowski, tuned in, watching on Flow this morning. He was up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And Joe, I've never asked you how to pronounce your last name, so I'm assuming I said that correctly. If not, just act like I did. So 48th, first one to leave the paddock area. He's ready to rock and roll for the Gettsville, Michigan runner. So safety check complete for Wade Warner. He'll come out here, and again, we'll be starting at the tail of the field. Staggered restart coming our way. Graber will be your race leader, 965, so that'll be called down first to get him stacked up down on the inside of the racetrack, and then Haven Bouveret lines up just behind, kind of like you'd see at a track and field event. Jonas Gus, Danny Lambert, and Jason Smood will now be your top 5 positions, looking to advance out of this heat race action into the final. Or the semifinal, I should say, for F500. So race number 3 of 40 for the day here on this second day, the 60th running of the World Championship Snowmobile Derby presented by Pitlick & Wick. Pitlick & Wick coming in, putting in a lot of work this summer, about 3 months' work, as a matter of fact, bringing in 140-plus loads of dirts. Reshaped it. The question came up last night, what do they race here whenever they're not running ice oval? It's nothing. It's a grassy field. There's grass sown underneath this. They build the ice track on top of it, the ice oval, and go racing from there. Hey, I got lucky. Joe says it was perfect. He could be lying, but he'd make me feel good about myself. So here we go.
Bouverette with a challenge to the outside right away on Graber. She's going to take the lead into one, roll off of two. Graber's going to fight back on the bottom off of two into the backstretch.
Initially, she had the best hole shot as well. Just couldn't quite hold the line down. Turn number 3 and 4. That's where Graber was able to get around her. She shoots high again. A bad push for the 92 sled. Graber back into the number 1 spot. Again, just need to be in the top 5 breakaway. And right now, Danica Lambert, our Quebecian, is currently in P5s. Look out, contact! Bouverette, great recovery by the 92 sled.
That was outstanding. Contact with the back of that 965. Everybody stays on. Graber going to lead, and now we're getting a little more slideways on the way through 3-4. We got 2 to go this time by for Graber, Bouverette, and the 221 Reed Klinger.
Well, we're chopping it up in the corners there and getting a little granulated. Hard to get a hold of as you see the 92 kind of power slides her way through there. Haven Bouverette back on the throttle. Used to be in sideways. She used to run quads back in the day, so that was a big sideways action for her. So I'm sure she's comfortable with the 92 sled a little loose. As you see, unfortunately, she's trying to hang on to the P3 spot. Meanwhile, up front, white flag comes out for Graber on the 965.
Graber down in 1. He's going to run that low groove. Contact again from Bouverette, and she comes off. I'll tell you, what she figured out there was sliding that thing was yielding better results right till then than the big push on the top of the track. So,
yeah, tough break right there, and that rattled her slats a little bit, I'm sure, for Haven Bouverette on the 92 sled. We'll send them back in there. It's going to be a one-lap shootout for your top 5 is the official walking with her. One thing, whenever you get out on the ISO, when I will point this out, you always see the officials go up and try to help them back to the sleds. They do not come out. The riders don't come out with any studs in their boots, whereas the officials are studded in their boots. People often wonder how they can walk around on the ice so well. Well, it's because they screw little studs in the bottom of their boots, or they wear the rubber slip-on studs or grippers, whereas the riders don't have those.
It makes all the difference in the world walking on the sheet ice.
So unfortunately, when the 92 sled went over, it definitely pounded a couple parts off. You see her yarding on the handlebars there, may have bent them. So Bouverette may be out of contention. We'll find out if she's able to continue on here on this second heat race for the F500. Well, maybe not. She was trying to get her back air to the Woody's traction control paddock area. You see it just kind of made a turn, and so no steering for the 92 that she calls for the tow board. Once you go on the tow board, you are done. So Haven Bouverette will be eliminated from F500 competition right here with this, as she will not make the transfer into the top 5. So a tough break for the Bad Axe Michigan runner. So Graber still up front on the 965. Second going to be Reed Klinger now on the 221. Jonas Gust will be scored P3 on the 71. Fourth, Danica Lambert on the 3. And then Jason Smoot back into the top 5 again for the number 6 sled. So we get set to restart for one-lap shootouts. And heat race number 2 of 3 for the F500. Again, thanks for coming out and joining us. Don't forget you can slide down to the Derby Expo Hall and check out all the fine vendors down there. If you're looking to go on an adventure, man, have we got something for you. Check out Now Outdoors Expedition Company down there. It could be backpacking, canoeing, winter camping, snowshoeing, international trips. They got all kinds of expeditions, but Now Outdoors set up down the Derby Expo Hall. And if you're going to go on an expedition, I recommend you visit Wild Things. Get yourself one of those cool fur hats they got going on. I like the skunk one myself, but that's just me. But visit with them. A lot of cool vendors down there. You can buy a chance on a sled that supports the Snowmobile World headquarters over here, giving away a vintage sled and a modern sled. So you can get chances on both of those, and maybe you can come away as a new snowmobile owner. Or if you don't want the sled, you can get a cool $10,000, which is pretty awesome.
I would not shun $10,000.
I wouldn't either, but I'd love to have a sled. I'd keep it up here. I'd talk them into keeping it in the Derby Hall for me. Visit a lot more often. 48 sled, going to break off front end piece and just chunk it out over the track. There you go. Well, that's as far as that went.
Got some body work going on there on the Warner ride.
It was like, he'll never make it to the infield. Maybe I can get it over the wall. No, it's laying against the bales.
And I guess if you get up into that laying next to the bales, we probably have more problems than that.
Hey, incidentally, looking at Wade Warner's sled down there, he's got a GoPro mounted on the handlebars. That might be kind of cool. Look out. Almost a little bit of contact there. The number 6 swung out wide to get an angle into the corner for Smood and stacked up those back 3.
Look at that shot on the bottom off a 2. I believe that's the 71, or is that an 11? First or third to first. They're going to have the bad touch in 3-4. Oh, my. Back to the stripe. That's the 221 and Reed Klinger picking up a win.
48 around down here, too. Just kicked something off. It's spinning its way down the ice. He's trying to get across the stripe. Now, remember, we take the top 5. Warner, though, will be scored 6. That was huge. Huge.
That was. There was a lot of movement there in that top 5.
Parts, pieces, cones laying out here. Reed Klinger picks up the win on the 221. Danny Lambert, the number 3, makes it into the number 2 spot. Austin Graber goes back to 3rd on the 965. Jason Smood and Zach Onson, the 51, will be the 5 to transfer out of a very rigorous heat race number 2. I don't know how else to put that.
And that is why you stay in it right till the checkered flag, because Reed, I believe Reed came from deep in the field. Didn't say his name except for coming across the line.
There you go. Well, takes us into our 3rd and final heat race here for the F500. It's going to be Kyle Streeter out of Unionville, Michigan on to 44. The 21 from Wausau, Wisconsin, that's Zach Rogers.
Tavish Perry from Eagle River, Wisconsin on the 85X. And Jonathan Proctor from Troupont, Michigan on the 686.
We'll go to Jefferson, Wisconsin, gather up Austin Madison on the 41 sled. 16X for Alma, Quebec, Canada. That's Nicholas Poudrier.
Rick Mork from Eagle River, Wisconsin on the 48X. And Kendra Westland from help me out there. Strathcona, Minnesota on the 113.
Poudrier, Alma, Quebec, Canada. Good to have the Canadians down here with us. We appreciate them joining us, coming across the border. Thank you for tuning in on FloRacing as well. We know we have a huge Canadian viewership as well as people watching from over in Europe. So shout out to the Swedes, always tuned in watching the World Championship Snowmobile Derby. Streeter might be a scratch on this. It was on the clock, I think, for the number 44 sled. We'll find out for Unionville, Michigan racer. 26 entries in category. We're trying to whittle it down here to 15. It'll move into the semis, and then we'll get the remainder out of that for our final a little bit later on today. And again, 40 races on tap on this second day, and Streeter is a scratch. Poudrier also a scratch, so we lose our Canadian. Keep your eye on Kendra Westland, 113, a contender in this category, no doubt about it. She lines up in the middle of the track.
She's been so good this weekend, I don't know if it matters where she lines up.
You know, and that's the thing is watching her on that 113 sled. I've said this before, and able to get down on the side of that sled. Just her position on the sled is a very comfortable position for corner speed. And that's where she makes up a lot of ground, but yeah, fun to watch her ride sleds out here. Oh my, 21 jump at the start. Zach Rogers will go back into the row number 2. Everybody else baited into it. We're going to hold those 2 sleds right there. Pabst Blue Ribbon Ride sitting on the outside. That 686 of Jonathan Proctor, Troupont, Michigan racer, is with us on a vintage weekend as well. Love the PBR.
Yeah, if you like to chew your beer, that is the one for you. It's funny because that used to be before we got into the craft age. And those are the beers you really chew.
Yeah.
You know, now Pabst is much more of it's tamer.
48X thought he had to go back there, too. It was the first one that jumps the start. Whoever jumps it pulls the other sleds along with him, basically. So stack them up. Thumbs up from the 41 sled. Austin Madison ready to rock and roll. A little more real estate to work with now. They got them spread out nicely here on the front line.
Room for sharing as Rico looks over the field. He likes it. Flag goes down. Flag comes up. Good hole shot. Good start for the 686, but right away, the 113 of Westland getting down making her way off of turn 2.
Yeah, here she goes. Everybody else getting sucked along in her vortex out. Turn number 2, 686, working to the outside for Proctor. Might be able to run her deep down into the corner. He's got that high line. Back in, kind of steps out a little bit on the 686. Westland takes him across lap number 1 of 5.
Westland, Proctor, Madison, your top 3 at the line. Westland going to wash up just a bit, giving Proctor the opportunity to get a better look, and then gone.
There you go. Rich Mork, unfortunately, issues with 48X sled. He's trying to put it around the racetrack and hang tight, but that thing is not handling at all. Top 5 have broken away, and again, they just need to mind their P's and Q's and put it into show at this point.
3 to go that time by. We got a challenge further back between the 21 of Rogers and the 41 of Madison. And we got one around, and
off he came. He left something behind there.
Over like a turtle and back down.
Yeah, and the red flag coming out on that one, so might as well gather up the parts. We're going to have to restart this one and go back to the tail. So Tavish Perry, the local runner from right here in Eagle River, Wisconsin, the snowmobile capital of the world. Trails are phenomenal. I saw the groomers out yesterday morning, but picking up about 8 or more inches, 8+ inches of snow a couple days ago, and the trails, phenomenal. I was able to go out and ride in that snow, and rented a sled from over here at Trackside, so highly recommend if you want to come up to the area, you can grab yourself a sled from Trackside on the old Polaris. So I went out there. Boy, that thing was snappy. I loved it.
How many miles did you get on?
109.
109.
109.
That's a good day.
That was enough. Yep, because I'm still feeling it a little bit. I'm getting old for that stuff. I don't ride all the time. You got to get out there and ride every day if you want to be in shape. Cool places to stop. Had a nice cup of coffee up almost to the Michigan state line and was out on the lakes a little bit and through the woods.
Did you find yourself a nice wide open section of lake to pinner?
Actually, I pinned it on a power line. There was a part of the trail was a power line. Yeah, and I opened her up. I'm not afraid to admit it. Because I already turned it in and I passed the post-race inspection over there with it, so I could tell him, yeah, I had that baby wide open there a couple times.
He had to go through tech to get his deposit back.
I needed that deposit. It's not like I'm the only one that's ever done that. Let's be honest here.
So a little safety action going on over there at Paddock, making sure that 85X can continue. That was a pretty soft roll. I don't think the sled actually made it to the bars.
Yeah, something came off there, though. I don't know if that was a cover or what the deal was, but they got him patched back up. He's good to go, so send him around here. We'll call him down in the order that they were in. Kendra Westland, your race leader. Going to be 4 laps remaining, just 1 lap scored into books. So 85X would have been a tail of the field. 48X said, why don't you go in front of me?
He's not carrying a big head of steam out there.
Yeah, and he's just got, his sled's just not handling. He's got a good hole shot, just cannot get that thing through the corners like the carbides don't want to bite on it for whatever reason.
Westland going to get the same great start she had last time off of 2 into the backstretch. They are 2 by 2 behind her, making their way inside turn number 3. Westland sets up and rolls, leaders in 4.
There you go, charge through the corner and onto the front straightaway. 686 hot pursuit. That P2 spot's going to get a little challenge this time coming around. Here's the 21 sled looking down the inside. Zach Rogers now sweeps out wide. Will drop the nose, see if he can carve down low.
And he was not able to gain any real estate on that. Your leader's going to bring the field back to turn number 3.
Something we often talk about, this track, a very unique shape to it in that with turn number 1 and 2 much tighter than 3 and 4. So a lot of times you'll see a sled be better at one end of the track versus the other. And that's what we're seeing right now. Rogers is good in 3 and 4. He's just not as good in turn number 1 and 2. Although that time he might have a little help. Nope, both of them go out to the wall.
Nope, scrubbed off a little speed with that wide circumference there. Westland coming back to, I believe, coming back to the white flag. 1 to go this time by for Westland.
Here late in the game, the 686 of Proctor's developed a little bit of a push as well, so I don't know if the carbides aren't taking a bite or whatever the case may be, as you see him shoving out towards the wall, coming out turn number 4. Westland's still locked and loaded. 113 sled up front, check to pick up the checkered flag this time.
Field making its way past lap traffic. Your leader, Westland, going to make her way to the stripe this time by. We got one high on the racetrack up there.
That's Troubles, not going to score across. This is where the 48X staying out here. Rich Mork should be able to put this one into the show just by sheer perseverance.
Right. Outlast.
There you go.
So, from scoring and technical staff here, with the 48X being a lap down, technically, the sled that's sitting high on the track would qualify in that 5th spot because it was ahead of the 48X. We'll wait for a final determination. That's the initial word that we're getting. And, of course, it's unofficial coming from the announcer.
I'm not saying anything. I'm keeping my trap shut. Yeah, they're putting that on the tow board, and the understanding is might have huffed the power plant in it. So that could have been catastrophic failure. Took place top side of the racetrack. Getting set to go into Junior 1 stock will be coming out here. Heat races, we will have 1 for Junior 1 stock. All riders will advance into the final. Be 5 laps the distance. That's coming up next. So it sounds like we're going to run a combo here. This is going to be Junior 1 stock and Junior 2 stock. In the Junior 1 stock category, it's Waylon Caprita out of Wausau, Wisconsin on the 626. The 10 of Derek Meyer out of Michigami, Michigan.
Brody Bartonen from Humboldt, Michigan on the 24. Alex Newman from Merrill, Wisconsin on the 412.
Austin Minta out of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on the 86. And then Michigami, Michigan. Benjamin Meyer, the other half of the Meyer missiles, on the number 11.
Carson Peterson, kind of fast yesterday from Lancaster, Minnesota on the 43. Levi, is it Larkey from Hollick, Minnesota on the 99.